Welcome to the State of Our Union, the podcast where real love meets real life. I am your host, Karen Williams, author, speaker, and wife of over 30 years. This is the space for honest conversations around marriage, commitment, conflict, healing, and learning how to choose each other daily. And it's even during the times when life gets heavy, because love isn't just about the vows we take. It's about the work we're willing to do together. Each week, we'll have conversations that inspire, challenge, and remind you that even through loss, disappointment, and change, your relationship can grow stronger. So wherever you're listening from, whether you're driving, cooking, working out, or lying in bed wondering if you're alone in this, just know you're not alone. So take a breath, lean in, and let's talk about the real state of our union. Hello, and welcome to season 2 of The State of Our Union and the Fight to Keep It. I'm your host, Karen Williams, and today I have my real good friend with me, Gigi Quijano.
Hello.
And so I am excited because Gigi is a wife of, you tell me, 25, 6, 30 years?
Going on 28.
28 years. And so, as most of you know, we're taking a little bit of a slight redirection with season 2. We're going to be sitting down with the wives and have them, pour into us on how they navigate marriage with all the things, all of the challenges that comes with marriage, how they actually do it. And so I'm going to stop talking and have Gigi introduce herself and tell her a little bit about her, where she's from, and all the good things.
All right. My name is Gigi Quijano. Um, wow, let's see. I started off in the medical field, did that for 16 years, transitioned to the finance field for another 16 years, and we're still in that, mostly my husband. And right now I am authoring a journal and it is about to be published very soon.
Yes, we're so excited. And so we're going to drop all of Gigi's information in the show notes. That way you can get in touch with her if you need to. And so we are completely, very excited about that. All right. So we are going to dive into our conversations this morning and just see where it go. As you know, our format is very conversational. We're not going to be super formal. If we get to something that Gigi doesn't want to talk about, guess what? We're not talking about it. Whatever she wants to talk about, whatever she's comfortable with, that's what we're diving in. But at the end of the day, we want you to walk away with truth, and that way you can apply those said truth to your life. All right. So, let's go into a little bit. Of course, we said that as wives, we have different seasons in our marriage. Well, the marriage itself have different seasons. We go through our honeymoon phase, and we go into the what I said, the relaxed or the soft girl or whatever people want to call it these days.
I don't know if I had that era.
Well, you know how, first we get married and we think everything is, basically we have this weird expectation of what marriage should look like. Mind you, a lot of times we dream it up. But Gigi, tell me a time, or before we go into the timing, tell me a little bit about some of the things that you wish you knew before you decide to say I do. What would be some of those top things that come to mind for you?
I think one of the biggest things I wish I knew before we got married is that I'm not going to win every battle.
True.
I a Scorpio at heart and I'm very want the last word, but that doesn't happen in marriage.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about having the last word. It's learning how to have a conversation with your spouse.
Yes.
And it took me a while to learn how to have a conversation.
Mm-hmm. So when that can go in so many different directions because when you talk about conversation, we know communication is one of the biggest obstacle that we have when we first get married. Of course, in the first year or so, we are so excited to be married, to be Mrs. Whoever. And so we're excited about the title, but then when it comes to the actual the nitty gritty, the iron sharpening iron, the two individual people trying to merge into one, that can be a little challenging. And so even the things that the conversations that we want to have, somehow it turns into a fight. We don't know how, but it turns into a fight. And so can you recall any of those moments and how did you navigate those?
I'm laughing because as soon as you said, and it turned into a fight, and then 5 minutes later, what were we fighting about?
That part?
And 9 out of 10 times, that was me.
Yeah.
I remember I asked him to buy me something,
Mhm.
and he came back with the total opposite of what I wanted. I think I wanted a certain type of milk. He bought me creamer, and then he said, "Well, you didn't explain yourself." And I was like, "I sent you a picture. What more explaining did you want?" And so it turned into an argument. And then literally three-fourths through the argument, I was like, why are we fighting over this?
Oh my gosh.
Why are we having a conversation about creamer versus milk?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's when I began to realize, because it wasn't the first time we fought about something for me was insignificant.
Mhm.
We had many arguments. And then I realized that Gil was so much more structured and technical than I was, where
Mhm.
I'm kind of more free spirited or tell it like it is. I'm structured, but only in certain aspects of my life.
Mhm.
And that's when I began to realize, oh, if I can't have a conversation in how he thinks, how are we ever going to keep this marriage going?
Yeah.
And that was the biggest eye opener is he can't come at me in how he thinks. He has to come at me or talk to me in how I think. But I also have to give him that same grace.
Yes. Yes.
And so it's funny because I accidentally sent my friend a message that was for Gil. And she goes, "Is that literally how you talk to him?" And I said, Yes, because it's Gil is very 1, 2, 3.
Mhm.
1A, 1B, 1C, if needed even. And I've learned to talk to him, and now we're very much more aligned in when we talk and how we work together.
Mhm. Mhm. And so that is so key because even when I sit down and coach couples, and I hear the things that they argue about or the things that become the focus of their contention, I have to stop and say, okay, let's figure out what your communication styles are. Because the thing is, it's not about the dirty sock on the floor. Right? That's not the issue. The issue is, am I being heard? Am I being disrespected? Am I being loved? Is my soul being fed in that moment? Do I feel safe to bring up another conflict in the future? How will that be viewed the next time, we have that encounter? That's what, believe it or not, that's the conversation that's happening in our heads in those moments. And so we have to as wives, we have to be able to slow down, and I'll say for husband as well. But I think because I know wives, I know us, we can get and there's nothing wrong with being emotional. So let's put that disclaimer out there first. There's nothing
Yes.
wrong with being emotional. The thing is, we cannot allow our emotions to drive every encounter we have with our husbands, because what end up happening, we hold on to things called resentment, disappointment, hurts, pains, and so we hang on to those things, and that becomes the lens that we view every other conversation through. And
Yeah.
so, um, what I would ask you is, was there a season where you realized that you were carrying any of those things, whether it's resentment or disappointment or any, or even if it's none of these that I name, is there a season that you realize, you know what, I am actually viewing my husband through one of these hurts or pain?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Before I stopped working as in a job, I was in corporate for over a decade.
Hmm.
I was the breadwinner. And so when I had to medically stop working, Karen, I resented him so much because then it was, oh, wait, now I have to watch my spending. I have to
Oh.
make decisions based on he is the sole breadwinner right now.
Mhm, mhm.
And so it was very difficult for me to not even just turn the tables, but it was very difficult for me to realize, okay, it has to be a group discussion now,
Yeah.
has to
Mhm.
be amongst husband and wife. Whereas before I never had to ask. We both contributed to the household, but my money was my money. His money was both of our money.
Yeah,
And um, so when that stopped, it bothered me for a long time.
yeah.
And it wasn't until he asked, "What's going on? You
Mm.
seem really distant," is when I realized, oh, wow, I'm really portraying more than just resentment. I am walking away.
Wow. Okay.
And that's when I said, all right. So then I said, hey, this is how I feel.
Mhm.
And then he was like, when did I ever make you feel like you had to ask? And
Wow.
I was like, oh, yeah, he never, and he still doesn't.
Mhm.
I will be the one to say, hey, I'm thinking about buying this. But I've never in turn heard him say, you can't.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized if I'm not willing to air it out, if I'm not willing to say, hey, you know what, this is what's bothering me. But because he literally takes care of me when it came to my health, when it comes to the doctor's appointment, when he drives me around, I
Mhm.
didn't want to make it another issue. But
Mhm.
then I realized it wasn't an issue. It was how I was communicating with him.
Yeah. So because he's asking a really good question that I mean, I'm asking the same. Where did you get the idea that you had to ask him? Because it sounded like that was all you. He was okay with.
It was all me. Oh, it was 100% all me. I can't even give him an ounce of the what the heck? It was all me, and it was me because as women, whether we're the breadwinner or we're the business owner, whatever, I think we tend to feel like we don't need to rely on our spouse. And at least that's where I was coming from.
Mhm.
Hey, I make my own money. I don't have to rely on him. And then when that got cut off, wow, was I completely shocked by his reaction to it. So it
Right.
was completely on me.
Yeah.
I always blame it on my Scorpio. I think too much. But I think as women, we do think too much.
Yeah, we
We
do. We
over
overthink. We overthink
we
everything.
overthink a lot of things.
Yeah, we overthink a lot of things. The thing there, what I wanted to kind of see if I could flesh out was how many of us actually do that. We make these assumptions or we have these expectations, and so because you were bringing in or contributing to the household at the time, you figured, hey, I don't need his permission or I don't need his collaboration with with the finances, with the spending. But now you suddenly personalized it because you weren't contributing,
Yeah.
even though he had never said anything. And so we go into and I know this for a fact, we go into marriage with our own mindset, our own thinking about how things should be done, or our views on money or religion or politics or whatever that is. And we make that assumption that our partner thinks the same, you know,
They
without
they
even
really don't.
without even having a conversation. I'm like, okay, how did we get here?
I was having a conversation with myself.
Yeah, it was all in our head, and been there, been there. I remembered, I said to Rob one time, I say, when I talk to you, I feel, you make me feel like an idiot. And he's like, wait, where did that even come from? Again, my own insecurities. And, Gil and Rob is probably very similar in the way they communicate, is pretty much, black, white, maybe gray, blood, it's just, boom, boom, boom. So when Rob would ask me a question, I read into the question and I see my own insecurities in the question. He's asking me a one-liner, and I'm telling you, Gigi, I am hearing a whole paragraph.
No, it's so true. We're reading between the lines. Wait,
Yeah,
but he annotated it this way, or, you know, I heard something different.
yeah.
'Cause they raised their tone just a little. Oh my god, he's yelling at me.
Yes, yes, yes. No, I'm not good enough. Yeah. Now, and again, a whole conversation in my own head about what he's saying instead of, okay, what did you mean by that? Why did you say it that way? What was happening, and all of those things. And I remember when he made it pretty clear. He said, first of all, you are safe with me. There's never a time that you have to think that I'm thinking less than you. Whatever I'm asking you, that's all I need to know, you know? But he has a way of, he'll ask a question and he asks follow-up questions. And I'm like, man, I didn't think it all the way through then, so, and especially like, as a business owner, sometimes I have some expensive business ideas. And he was like, okay, so how is that going to work? What's the ROI? Who else have you consulted about this? And so he has all of those questions. Now, mind you, we've been married now. It'll be 34 years this year. So I'm at the point where I already anticipate those questions, and I am comfortable and safe to say, you know what? I don't know. I didn't look into that yet. And maybe sometimes he'll go look it up himself, but the point is, we can't hold on to those unhealthy emotions like the resentment and the hurts and think, oh, somehow he's gonna know, what I'm thinking, or he should know. That's one of us as girls. That's one of our famous line. Well, you ought to know. Why don't you know what I want? Why don't you know what I like? You should know by
You can't
now.
read my mind.
Yes. Use what is
Yeah.
it? Use your words. Yeah, use your words. All right, so we're gonna get into just uh a little bit deeper.
Okay.
Um so we're talking about holding on to hurts and letting go of those things and recognizing that it's, seeing it for what it is. One of my I think half the battle, before I say that, let me say it this way. Half the battle when it comes to getting on the other side of learning your partner is self awareness. We think that we need to get to know our person, but at the end of the day, and we should, but I think we need to know ourselves a lot more than we do going into marriage, right? And so, what helped you get to that place of self awareness, emotional honesty, those kind of things? Can you, not necessarily pinpoint the date and time, but can you point like that pivotal moment when you say, oh, shoot, it's me?
I can. Mhm. Um, we were at a business meeting,
Hmm.
he and I, and the person and the guest speaker was talking about literally this communication. But it was really communication with your clients and everything else. And she was talking about someone being structured and what they think, how they think, what they ask, someone who's being technical, action driven, relationship driven. And both of us were, and
The
but
elbows.
I was like, oh my gosh, that is so true.
Yeah.
And I admitted finally, I'm the issue
I'm the problem.
because I saw things one way and one way only,
Yeah.
but he saw it a different way. You know, if there's anything I can say about Gil is he is easygoing to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
If the house ain't clean, it's like World War V, because he's very OCD about that.
Yeah.
Other than that, don't disturb him during a Lakers game. But me, it was, did you hear me?
Yeah.
Wait, I don't want to repeat myself. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Mm-hmm.
And so, but at that moment, I realized, wait, our marriage is going to end sooner than it began if I'm not willing to change, if I'm not willing to have the conversations. And I think you said something on one of your Instagram posts. If you're both not willing to come to the table,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
how are you ever going to have a conversation?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that was one of our biggest things when we saw that. We're like, we never come to the table together.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're there 30 minutes and I'm arriving 15 minutes after you've left. And that's when I realized I had to make the change. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't anything about him. Gil is very easygoing. He's willing to concede. And I didn't want him to concede just because I couldn't get out of my head,
Mm-hmm.
because I couldn't understand how to become not stubborn. And so I really had to do a lot of soul searching.
Yeah.
I really had to do just more than my regular journey. I had to pray on it. And that's the moment I said, Lord, I need help.
Yes. Yes.
I know the tools on how to communicate. I just saw them, but I need help on executing them. And the minute I was able to ask God for help was the minute I said, oh, I can get through this.
Yeah.
God plays such a pivotal person in my life that I talk to him all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Gil laughs because I cannot sing worth anything, but you will hear me singing worship every place in the house
Yeah.
because that's just how I had the conversations. And I remember singing something and he goes, are you talking about me?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then I said, no, I'm not. I'm just asking God help.
Yeah.
And that's really the moment I realized if I wasn't willing to have a conversation with God first,
Mm-hmm.
be okay with the answers he gave me,
Mm-hmm.
our
Mm-hmm.
our marriage was doomed.
Mm-hmm. That is so on point, and we could probably stay there for a few moments because the thing is we wrestle with having the conversation with God because we know that when we get in the presence of God, he is not going to show us our spouse. He's going to always show us our own heart.
Yes.
And when we get before God and we are complaining about my husband does this, my husband does that, Lord, don't you see him? Lord, did you see what he said? Did you hear what he said? And God is quickly to say, I see him because he is my son.
Yeah.
However, let me deal with your heart because God is going to deal with our spouse in their season, in their time. But if God is making us self aware, we cannot just ignore that. We cannot just walk away from that. And I know that one of the biggest challenges that we have as wives is we are afraid to actually sit down, look in the mirror, and not just look in the physical mirror, but look in that mirror of our soul and say, I should not have said that. I know when I said that, I was trying to hurt his feelings. I know when I said that, I was trying to get a reaction. I know when I said it that way, I was trying to pick a fight, or I was trying to, there was that ulterior motive at the base or the core of the conversation that we had, or whatever it is that we were picking at. And if we're honest with ourselves, we will understand that, wait a minute. Maybe that's what's adding to the friction. Maybe that's what's adding
Yeah.
to the discontent and the discomfort, and the pain. And so that moment of self-awareness, that moment when we say, okay, I am the problem, then the next step, what are we going to do about it? Am I actually going to start working on myself? Am I actually going to journal? Or am I going to get around my friends that's going to say, girl, don't let him talk to you like that. You don't have to put up with that. You make your own money. You do this. Well, the thing is, you can hang out with people that don't value marriage and hear that kind of thing, or you can swim upstream against the grain and come out on the other side of it with a marriage that is totally reflective of God and His Son.
It's funny you talked about hanging out with the wrong people.
Mhm.
So Gil and I had a huge friends group through his work,
Mhm.
but divorced. Husband was living in another country.
Mhm.
She was mad that he wasn't coming home, cheated on. And I was like, if we keep hanging around them,
Mhm.
we are going to become them.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
And none of them, the biggest thing that got me was I finally asked, do you go to church?
Yeah.
Do you have a relationship with God? Because if you don't, I can't be around you.
Mhm.
Because I've always had such a childlike faith. Everything God tells me, I believe.
Yeah.
I never
Absolutely.
question it.
Yeah.
Now, if it was my mom, maybe I'd question it. Maybe I wouldn't believe it. But with God,
Yeah.
through Him, all I believe.
Yes.
And so I was telling you, you can't hang around them anymore
Mhm.
because your thoughts are projecting into our marriage.
Yeah.
And my thoughts and the craziest thing is when I knew it was when the husband sat apart and the wives were in another room.
Mm.
And all I was hearing was, oh my gosh, so and so is just giving me a hard time about this and nah, 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 nah. And here I'm like, I don't have anything to say.
Yeah. Can't add to that.
Mm-mm.
Nope.
And
Can't.
that's when I knew we had to leave.
Yeah. And the thing is, my son was asking Rob and I recently, our youngest son, Jordan is 32, and he was asking Rob and I if we have, like who's our like best friends and that kind of thing. And I said, technically, your dad is my best friend. And so, Rob was having the conversation with him. And he said, "Yeah, your mom has always been my best friend. That's the person that I feel safe with. That's the person that I have those conversations with." For Rob, it's more like he found safety in me, and he doesn't seek it anywhere else. You know, um, he's probably like Gil in this way as well. The when you get around relationships or other people that are not aligned that way, doesn't take him long to say, you know what, I'm out. We're not even aligned. We're not even aligned. And
Mhm.
it's okay. While I'm sitting there wrestling, like maybe they're supposed to learn something from me or Rob is like, mm-mm, you know. And so, there's a scripture that says, I think it's in First Corinthians, that says, in a nutshell, I'm probably going to butcher the quote, but it says, uh, ba- um, bad company corrupts good character.
Mhm.
And so when we choose to hang around people that doesn't value marriage like you do, Because see, you and I will always find someone that will agree with whatever toxic belief we have. If I
Yeah.
think that my husband is trashy, if I think that he should be bashed, just name call or whatever, I can find a group of people that will agree with me because of
Mhm.
their own experiences. And so if you want a good marriage, you want to hang out with people that have the marriage that you are looking for. Now, don't get me wrong, you're not going to find, and I wouldn't say you should find a marriage where you're going to copy what they do. But you're going to learn some things, as in how we talk to each other, how we communicate, the value we place on each other, how as spouses, how you hear them talk about each other when the other is not in the room. Pay
Right.
attention.
Mhm.
Yeah, pay attention to those kind of things. That way you can say, hey, even when she's not around, even when he's not around, there's a level of respect that's there. There's a love that's there. There's a care that's there. There's a value, that's there. And so what would you say to that couple? Um, and I know we're really targeting the wives this season, but what would you say to that young married person that is like, I don't know how I'm going to get through this because you know I get up every day and my feelings are hurt because of something he said or something he did. What would you say, guide them on how to navigate that, especially the wives?
I honestly would say learn the art of conversation.
Mhm.
Until you're willing to do the work,
Mhm.
because the work isn't changing him.
Yes.
The
Right.
work is looking at yourself first, and that took me forever to understand. It's
Mhm.
not like I walked into our marriage going, "Don't worry, I'm not gonna change you." Yeah, right. But the work is not in changing him.
Yeah.
It is looking at yourself first. It is seeing who you are first.
Yeah.
Because
Mm.
really, when they see you working on you, they begin to work on themselves.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Wholeheartedly, I believe in that.
Yeah. I believe that. I believe that if nothing else, when we start working on ourselves, we start seeing them differently.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
We start
stopped
seeing them differently.
having ridiculous fights with him,
Mhm.
especially when my daughter noticed at a younger age. Why are you yelling?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
why am I yelling?
Yeah, why are you yelling, Gigi?
I was like, why am I yelling at the most ridiculous things?
Yeah.
And that's when I had the conversations with God. That's when I began to look for the tools. And
Mm.
I think that's huge. Until you're ready to look for the tools to help you in your marriage,
Yes.
and not, I said help you, not help we.
Yep.
Because you can't help yourself. You can't help anyone. You can't help your spouse until you're willing to help yourself.
100%.
And that's when I realized you need to fix something. And I
Mhm.
didn't even know what I needed to fix. I just knew something needed, sometimes even just tweaking.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
wasn't like you had to completely rebuild yourself. A
Mm.
lot of times it was just a tweak here, a tweak there. Mm, But at the end, it was the conversations I had with God. It
Yeah.
was the way I journaled. I no longer dear diaried it. Because a lot of times when you're writing to your diary, you're telling everything you want to say that you can't say out loud.
So true. Yes.
And then I began to reflect, especially if Gil and I have arguments still. I don't think we have arguments. Is
Yeah.
he and my daughter are the same person, but he loves her to a point where he doesn't want to reprimand her. So
Oh,
what he does is go, "Well, your child,
you're
our child, da 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 da," and I was like, "Wait, is it between us or between her? Because you can't bring me into this. You have to fix it somehow. And now they're finally, at the age of 25 with my daughter, are finally starting to have the real conversations.
Yeah.
And that was a huge thing for us, is the
Mhm.
conversations that we were having.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my goodness. That that is so funny.
Like, wait,
That is so funny.
huh? Number one, she's an adult. She's a full-grown adult.
Right. Right.
Why are we why are we having this discussion?
Mhm.
Because when it comes to her, I'm very easygoing.
Mhm.
All I ask of is of two things. Let me know where you're going. Let me know when you arrive.
Mhm.
He
Mhm.
wants to know what her budget is and da da da. She makes good money. It's
Mhm.
time to let that go.
Mhm. Yeah. At 25, yeah. Yeah.
So he's
But I
finally
don't
learning.
yeah. And as parents, Ah, we really don't stop parenting, especially us as those of us with adult children, but I want to talk to the wife that's been married between a year and 5 years, and I really want to get their attention, um, because some of the resentments that we walk around with as wives is we have in our heads our idea of what marriage should look like. And I call it just the deceptions of wifehood, because we step into this role thinking, okay, we're going to my husband is gonna have breakfast every morning. I'm gonna fix his lunch. I'm gonna have his dinner on the table by 5. I'm gonna have laundry washed and folded and all of the things. And we get to that point and we realize, wait a minute, I can't get all of this done. And so we are stressed out. We are resentful because nobody is helping, and and for starters, nobody asks you to do any of those things. Nobody's asking you to do those. And on top of that, um you know you have callings and giftings on the inside of you that God put in there from the beginning of time, right? And a lot of times we operate from a position of resentment because those gifts are unable to come forward. And so I want us to talk a little bit about when you realize your calling, because I know you're getting ready to publish your journal. And when did you realize your calling? And did you have one of those moments where you're like, I am made for more than this?
Hmm. In regards to I am made for this with my journal is when I had Gil's blessing.
Mm-hmm.
Because things like authoring or publishing a journal or authoring a book,
Mm-hmm.
that can't be me on my own.
Right.
I
Right.
had to have his blessing. And the second thing was I couldn't come with expectations of him.
Mm-hmm.
I had to set the expectations for myself. And that's when I realized, oh, this is it. When he told me, you do your thing,
Mm-hmm.
automatically I realized I can do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think, earlier you were talking about the women in the first 1 to 5 years of their marriage. The biggest thing for me is, I'll say it over and over again. I told this to my cousin who just got married. Stop putting expectations on him, and most definitely stop putting expectations on yourself. You don't not automatically snap your fingers and you are the perfect wife.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You can't. Because I know this because I did it.
Right.
And then I found out he loves to do laundry. That's his de-stressor. So I
Mm-hmm.
said, yes, he cannot cook to save his life. And I was like, "Wait, what? You want me to cook your meals? I don't like to cook. I can cook, but I don't even like to cook."
Yeah.
But I realize you're not compromising who you are,
Mhm.
you're compromising to make your marriage work.
Yes.
Okay, you're gonna clean the house, do the laundry, I can cook.
Mhm. Mhm. Because it's a team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When people say marriage is a 50-50, no, it ain't.
Nope.
It is 100%, 100%. If
Yeah.
you're only giving 50% into your marriage,
Yeah.
you're not going to last past
No.
that 5 years.
Exactly. 100%. Yep, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Absolutely. Absolutely. And we come to the table, or we come to the table of marriage as two individuals with gifts and callings and anointings and grace, all of the things that God has put on the inside of us. And that's why it's important that we marry someone that will align with our values. That way you can still live out your true calling, even as a wife. As a matter of fact, your marriage is supposed to enhance the gifts that you have on the inside of you, the gifts that God has placed in you and I. And I think sometimes, the years will go by and we get to a point where wives are like, I am missing something. I'm going to go find myself. And the whole time, all of who you are is already there, but allowing resentment and hurts and disappointments and unmet expectations and all of that stuff, allowing all of that to block out the call that God has on your life, that in and of itself will bring your marriage to a halt. You
Mhm.
know, as a team, the significance behind the woman taking the husband's name. It's really not that deep, people. It only signifies that we're on the same team. That's what it is. Team Keanu, Team Williams. That's who we are. And
Yeah.
so when we go into marriage and we have this mindset that is me versus him, i- we have already lost, because when I lose, he loses. When
Yeah.
he wins, I win. It's one for the team. So can you speak to that a little bit?
You know, when we talk about that, I did not recognize me as a whole,
Hmm.
maybe until my 4th year of marriage. I thought it just became a piece of him, and we would, glow and humble, and just become one person. No, we ain't one person, we're 2 people, and we'll always be 2 people with 2 different personalities,
Right.
but we can grow together,
Hmm.
and that's what I didn't recognize until closer to my 4th year of marriage. And I didn't even settle into it until about my 10th year of marriage,
Yeah.
because it was hard for me to learn that he is Gil and I am Gigi.
Correct.
But together, we are Mr. and Mrs. Quijano. We are the
Yeah.
team Quijano.
Yeah.
And because of that, all these things were, wait, you want me to do this and you're going to do that, and I can't do this and you're going to do that. Well, I can do it. I can do it. What do you mean you don't want me to do it?
Hmm.
Or what do you mean you want me to do this? And then I was like, girl, shut up. You're setting such ridiculous timelines for yourself.
Yeah.
You're setting ridiculous rules for your
Yeah.
household that the house will break. It won't have a good enough foundation if you're
Yeah.
going to keep nitpicking, if you're going to keep expecting of him. And I think that was the biggest thing is we expect of our spouse so much
Yes.
that when they start to expect of you, you're like, huh?
That part. That part. Yes, yes. Because one of the questions that I ask, single people, you have a list of expectations for the person that you want to marry, or what you expect of your marriage should look like. And I said, the first question is, are you showing up that way?
Mhm.
Because if you are unable to show up that way, it is not fair to have that expectation of somebody else. I think a lot of times, I spend time, elaborating on that as it applies to each individual. But yeah, we have these expectations. And sometimes, oh my gosh, sometimes, Gigi, those expectations comes from all types of crazy sources, like whether it's social media or TV, Hollywood, all of these things where we don't even have access to the real lives of these people. We don't know what their real story is, you know? And so, yeah, it's always, I'm always into that. And no, I hold people accountable with that.
Yeah, and you gotta stop comparing someone else's marriage to yours.
Th-
And their
Elaborate
story
on
is not
that.
your
Yes,
story.
please talk about that.
And I'm talking from example. There was a couple in my life, that I felt had it all. He was doting. She was doing what was necessary. I really almost called her the Proverbs 31 woman.
Oh,
I
wow.
was like, dang. She was prayerful. She was everything. And the marriage dissolved.
Mm,
And then I said, and I remember Gil going, you want that marriage? Because I don't want that marriage. And then I was like,
wow.
never mind.
Yeah.
I'm not going to begin to compare our marriage to other marriages because I don't know the full story. I don't know the chapters between the book. I
Mm-hmm.
just see the cover
Mm-hmm.
and the shortened explanation of the book.
Yes,
But I don't know the pages, the chapters, the going ons.
exactly.
I just see a really pretty picture on the front of the book.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's when I said, stop.
Yeah.
Then I began to surround myself with wives who not just not necessarily who I wanted to be,
Mm-hmm.
who set examples of what I could continue to grow as.
Exactly. Exactly.
I'll give you an example. Gil does not like being in group settings
Mm-hmm.
unless he knows you. The minute I told him about a Greece trip,
Mm-hmm.
who's going? Right
Yeah.
away, yeah, I don't have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I had asked him, I'm surprised you really only know Gary.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, but I know the wives you're hanging out with.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
He straight up said, you're always happy with them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Whether you're going to an event with them, whether you're doing Bible study with them, I've never seen you leave it being, nah.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't I be comfortable?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then that's when I said, I get it.
Yeah. The thing is with what that saying that says, comparison is a thief of all joy, because I
Yeah.
remember, Gigi, when we got married in 1992, and by 1998 we bought our first house. And I was just ecstatic about my house. I was like, oh my gosh, we're actually homeowners, right? And so excited about it. And because it was a time in our life when I was transitioning out the military, and at the time, my husband, the God-fearing man that he is, he says, "We are going to buy a house. We're not going to rent someone else's house or pay somebody else's mortgage." I didn't have the vision for it. I didn't see it. I didn't know how it was going to happen because our finances surely was not financing. So we were like, I said, okie doke. But anyway, fast forward and we got our house. It was about I think with a basement, I think it was about 1,400 square foot, right? Love our little house. Until I went to some other church member's house, and my house could fit into theirs about 4 or 5 times. And Gigi, I came back and I'm start looking. I was like, oh man, so how long we're gonna live in this one before we buy another?
We must have been on the same trajectory at the same time. Our house was 1,300 square feet.
Yeah.
I went to a house that was 6,000 square feet,
Yep.
and I was
The
like,
one I went to was about 5,000. Yep.
and it was funny because literally same thing with me and my best friend.
Yeah.
You know, we both had very small homes, and we called each other neighbors because we insisted we were going to be neighbors in these beautiful homes. We are now both in smaller places,
Yeah.
more happy than I was ever in our second home that is about 3,500 square feet.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I was like, man, this
Yeah.
comparing thing is just driving me nuts.
Yeah. Because it will steal all the gratitude that we have, the gratefulness that, the appreciation. And so we have, and I don't want to. I'm not bashing our wives. However, some of the times us as wives, we put this heavy expectations on our husbands. Like so and so have that house. I want that house. I want that car. I want that bank account. I want that purse. I want this trip. I want this.
Yes.
I want. I want. I want. And they are sitting there like, okay, I want to make my wife happy. How do I do that? Do I need a second job? Do I need to go back to school? Do I need to sell this on the side? And all of these things, instead of coming to the table and say, okay, honey, what is our plan? What is our goal? What is the vision for the marriage that we came to agreement on? And what's the timeline? What are we going to do for the next 5, 10, 15 years, and start planning that future. But we get so caught up in the things, and that's part of the reason why a lot of couples do not have premarital coaching or any type of premarital work, because the excitement is on the day, not to build the marriage itself. And we have to take that time. We have to slow down, take the time to say, hey, is this the next step for me? Is this the person that I'm supposed to be spending the rest of my life with? And if so, what does it look like? What does the alignment look like? And so I wanted to have you, close it out with any last minute pointers that you want to give our audience, our young wife that's listening.
I think the biggest thing is come to the marriage because you love each other, not because marriage is supposed to be some end goal.
Mm,
Come into the marriage because it's where you want to be, not where a book says when you reach a certain age, you should be married.
right, right.
But most of all, come into the marriage with God.
Mhm, mhm.
He really becomes what binds you together, what holds you together. I don't know that Gil is a prayerful man. He goes to church every Sunday. But I think if it wasn't for me being invested in studying the Bible, being invested in having conversations with God,
Yeah.
every day in my journal, it's a letter to God. It
Mm-hmm.
begins, Dear God. And it's not even setting expectations for God. It's thank you.
Yes.
It's, or it's move me into the direction I need to move.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I wish I knew that. I wish there was a pre-marriage class that I could have taken. I think I would be a better person. I
Yeah.
think we would have moved even further in our marriage than we are now
Yeah.
And if you ever have the opportunity to take something like a pre-marriage class, do it. And I'm not talking about the one a church does for 4 hours and
Yeah.
asks you a few questions that are really ambiguous to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what I mean is find someone like yourself
Mm-hmm.
who will give you measurable goals to work with, who will allow you to recognize you are you, he is he, and you come together as a couple.
Yes. Yes.
Because until then, your marriage isn't going to move in the direction you want. I know firsthand that.
Yeah.
If Bill and I didn't take the time to really read your workbook or go through, and this isn't even a plug on you, it was
Mhm.
if we didn't take the time to work on ourselves,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we'd be, if not divorced, I think we would have close to it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the sadly we don't we there's no real way to communicate the importance of premarital work, because so many people, like you said, so many couples really believe that marriage is the destination when it's just a starting line. It's that place where you start learning about who you are. It's that place that will challenge you. It challenges your thinking. It challenges your personality, the things that you said you hold dear. That marriage will do that. And so when we say yes, I'm marrying the person of my dreams, what you have to be able to write that out. You have to be able to flesh that out and say, all right, because this is the person of my dreams. What exactly does that mean? I love you. What does that mean? How do I want to be loved? What does that look like? When I feel loved, I experience this. All of those conversations need to be had ahead of time and being okay to say, you know what? This might not be the person that I should marry. I like you, we like each other, but deep down, there's something that's missing there. Maybe it's not the right time, but for the wife that is already in that marriage, it's yes, it will take some adjustment. There's nothing that is being built that doesn't require some cutting away, some reshaping, some sparks flying. The book of Isaiah, there's a scripture in Isaiah that says that iron sharpens iron.
Okay.
That's because, any time that you and I are forming something new, we're going to chip away at some things. We're going to cut away at some things so that it will become that new thing. And that's what marriage is. Two people coming together to create something that never existed before. And so I am so excited that I had the opportunity to sit down with you today. Good Lord, we've been talking for almost an hour.
Have
This
we? Oh, wow.
is so good. Gigi, I want to say thank you. Thank you so much for being vulnerable with us today. Um, I hope at some point I get your hubby to come on with us and we can have a conversation. Because even though this new season is focused on just wives, we will pop some couples in there every in between episodes. So tell Gil he's not off the hook yet. And so.
You're being interviewed on the cruise with a margarita in hand.
Right,
But
exactly.
thank you for everything you do. I think
Oh,
more people need to not see. I think when people hear about a marriage podcast
mm,
or a, a wife's podcast, it's automatically, she's going to try and change me. When
mm.
in reality, you're going to set the framework and then you have to do the rest of the work. The
You
wife, the husband has to do
exactly,
the rest of the work.
exactly.
A, a, someone who can guide people in marriage, they're just going to guide you. It's not, you
Yeah,
got to do the work.
yes, you do have to come ready to do the work. You definitely do. All of Gigi's information will be in the show notes. And so again, I want to thank you so much for joining us on this episode of The State of Our Union and the Fight to Keep It. Have an amazing rest of your day. I'm so excited for you guys to hear, to listen to the upcoming episodes. We have some really cool wives scheduled. So have a wonderful day and we'll talk soon. Thanks, Gigi.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for spending this time with me on the State of Our Union. My hope is that today's conversation gave you something to reflect on, something to talk about, and maybe even something to try in your own relationship. If this episode spoke to you, share it with someone you love or someone who needs to hear it. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss a conversation. Remember, strong relationships aren't built on perfection. They're built on intention, honesty, and the daily decision to choose each other. Until next time, guard your heart, nurture your love, and keep investing in the state of your union.